Yes, very good book. Yes, I like it a lot. Yes, good. Hey, Rostov, you're in my chair. What? What? But I wanted to do a piece. You said I could do a piece. You said Count Rostov could appear. You said he could be in this bit. And he's in this very good book by Robert Rankin, by the way. Yes. What? No, I can't be. Oh, I'm sorry. All right then. I don't know, these interlopers trying to steal the scene, trying to steal the screen. I don't know. Right, well, we're running a little bit late. I apologise for that. I've been trying to sort out the technology, and we may still have problems. But I do know I have two special guests lined up for you now. So first off, I'm going to have a chat with the lovely Colin Edmonds. So let's say hello to Colin. Hello, Colin.
Hello, love. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
I've got to say, first of all, what a terrific weekend you've hosted. I mean, you must be exhausted, and your voice is holding up very well. And it's been a technological work of genius. It's been like Jodrell Bank at your place.
Well, there's a little secret to why my voice is holding up very well. I've got it here. it's
I mean, you're talking to someone who's a complete novice when it comes to technology. I still haven't mastered the Amstrad from 25 years ago.
Well, basically, yes. It's the Blue Monkey chocolate. Coffee amaretto stout that is porter. Coffee amaretto porter that's keeping me going. So yeah, so it's all good. See, now
that would kill me, Keith.
Yes. So anyway, I was going to do this portion in a swimsuit, and then I thought, no, that's not really. I can't get away with that, really. Nobody wants to see that. So how are you, Colin? And I suppose I should introduce you. Now, you are, at the moment, your connection with SteamPunk, anyway, is the fact that you've written some lovely books. So tell us a little bit about the books.
Yeah, I've written a series of steampunk murder mysteries with a bit of musical magic involved, about two Victorian musical magicians who solve X-Files type crimes in the Victorian era. And it started life, actually, Keith, as a television pilot. Mm-hmm. And I sent it off to a producer you might have heard of called Jeffrey Posner, who used to work with Victoria Wood and stuff like that. My wife, Catherine, used to be his PA at the BBC, so I had a kind of a collection there. and he read it and kind of quite liked it, made a few suggestions, which I changed, and couldn't sell the damn thing at all because it was too expensive. Because I'd imposed the steampunk element upon it to make it more interesting, he couldn't sell the damn thing. And so it sat on the shelf for about 6 months with me moping and staring at it, watching the damn thing gather dust. And Catherine said, well, why don't you try writing a novel? You've always wanted to write a novel. So I did, and I did. And here I am now talking to you as a consequence 6 years later.
So what was the first novel called?
Well, the first novel is Steam, Smoke and Mirrors. Yeah. I've got a prop if you'd like to see it.
Go on then.
Okay, I'll show it.
We're all about show and tell here.
Exhibit A, Your Honour.
Yes, Steam, Smoke and Mirrors.
Steam, Smoke and Mirrors.
I was very fortunate to, I say fortunate, like many people, I went out and bought the audiobook. So I'm not that fortunate. Anybody can do it. And I really enjoyed it. I like the audiobook. I don't often get time to read books these days. I have a lot of books to read, but I don't often get a chance. And I do quite like audiobooks because I get more time to listen to those. And the audiobook of your novel is particularly good, partly because the actor's really, really good. And I gather it won awards recently.
Yeah, Carl Johnson is the actor who put voice to the characters. And I'm the worst reader alouder in the world, Keith. When the kids were young, I'd say...
If you say words like reader alouder, you will be.
And the kids would say, and don't read this book, Dad, at night time. Can Mum do it, please? Because I just can't, I've got no performance acumen whatsoever. But Carl really made a magnificent job of it. And was nominated for a SOVAS Award, a Society of Visual Vocal Arts Society Award, kind of like a vocal BAFTA award, really, in Los Angeles, and won for category of Best Thriller. Yeah. Now, that was more about his performance than my words, I've got to say. But hey, it won.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, and it's a great story, and full of really if you're into, especially if you're into musical history and stuff as well, it's very interesting because you have done a lot of research and put that into the book, which is great. Now, Before we go too much further, I should say, if anybody has any questions or for you, or for any of our guests, in fact, or any just general observations, this is we're kind of doing a casual Sunday night, chat show here. So we're just chatting away. So anybody can join in. So if you'd like to, keep looking over here because that's where your comments are coming in. So if you've got comments and questions, do post them up for our guests. Now, the other thing that, from my own personal point of view, fascinates me as somebody who vaguely attempts stand-up and writes a bit of comedy, is that you're past as a comedy writer. So tell us a little bit about that.
I spent 40 years as a comedy writer, working for performers and TV shows and stuff like that. I got away with it. I got away with it for all that time. And it's a weird old thing, Keith, with comedy or with anything, I think, you haven't got to be the best person in the room to be successful. Sure, okay. To be successful, but you've got to be the hardest worker. And I will flatter myself, I really put the hours in, I reckon of all the stuff that I wrote over the years, a fifth of it was ever bought or used or broadcast. Awful lot of stuff you try your best with, but you don't sell it. But you've got to put the hours in if you're going to be successful. And I've always had that work ethic, quite frankly.
Yeah, cool. So tell me now. I know you've told me this story, but I want to hear it again because I love hearing the story. How did you start as a comedy writer?
Oh gosh, I was 16. And watching TV as we all did in those days, and there were shows like Sunday Night at the London Palladium and The Golden Shot, and I'd always written, I'd always typed, and that's giving my age away when you do that action when you're typing.
Yes, yeah.
But your younger viewers won't know what the hell I'm doing with that action. But I'd always written stories and stuff, and then there were these guys on television doing jokes, and they were getting laughs. They were making the crowd laugh. And the sound of that laughter was infectious. I really liked that. And I knew that I'd never be a performer because I didn't have the self-confidence to do it. But I wondered if I could write funny stuff. So I tried, and I had the audacity to send what I thought were jokes to various performers of that time, people like Max Bygraves and Ted Rogers and long forgotten names. And one of them was Bob Monkhouse, who was hosting a show called The Golden Shot, which is a live Sunday afternoon show, which some of you may remember. And Bob was the only performer, the only comedian that wrote back to me saying, your jokes aren't very good, but they show potential. And I see that you're just 16, and I was 16 when I started. So already there was a bit of empathy. He could identify with what I was trying to do. And so then I proceeded to write jokes for him for the next 45 years of my life until he passed away. Yeah. And that's how I got going. Yeah. A detour at IPC magazines because I wasn't bright enough to go to university. So I got a job at IPC, training to be a journalist on kids' comics. All right. Hello, Colin Matheson. and Tom.
Now, you see, that's a connection I didn't know. So.
Yeah, but my heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to write my jokes. And so finally, I got a bit of traction. I started selling some more stuff. And because I wasn't married at the time, I only had next year's tax bill to think about and next month's rent. Well, I quit the job and I've been tapping away merrily at my jokes and my comedy ever since.
Cool, awesome. Well, that's brilliant. And I know I did a radio play last year, and I do one every year, and I kind of style it in the way of Round the Horn and the old BBC 4 radio comedies. I'm a great fan, so I try and write something that works like that. And you very kindly provided some excellent jokes for it, so thank you very much, and that's brilliant. And now we've got a question that I'm quickly ask you, which is. Who came first, Magister or Phoebe, and are they based on people you know? Now, for anybody who hasn't read the books, they're the two main characters in the book, I would say. So, what was? I suppose that's who came first in your mind, I suppose.
Yeah, it was always Michael Magister and his assistant, because I used to work with Paul and Debbie a fair bit, so I was always aware of that magic dynamic.
So you're going to have to tell the young ones who Paul and Debbie are.
Yes. Listen, I'm 65 in June, so I'm a man of a certain age. Yeah. It's when I start talking about Clement Attlee, you need to start the one. Paul Daniels and Debbie Mcgee were a magic actor on BBC television.
Because clearly I don't remember them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Man of your considerable youth.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And Paul was the predominant stage magician, predominant television magician.
Yeah.
And so I was aware of their dynamic, but I wanted my female assistant not to be an assistant. I wanted them to be equal on stage. So I made Michael, who's very flamboyant and coming as a stage magician, as like what I am. But I wanted Phoebe to have much more creative input into the detective work. She's the brains of the outfit.
She's definitely the brains of the outfit. Yeah, he's the kind of I don't know, but it works really well. I think the pair of them, it works really well. So
she's a more dynamic character than he is. He thinks he's dynamic.
Yeah.
But she's, as I say, she's the brains of the outfit, and I quite like that relationship.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to introduce our next guest because I know he's been patiently waiting in the wings, so we can have a chat with him as well. So, and our second guest is a lovely gentleman. I haven't had the chance. I never get the chance to talk to him that much, and I always want to talk to him more. So I guess here's a bit of a chance. So it's the lovely Yoms. Hello, Yoms.
Hey there. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to see you. Haven't seen you for ages, so this is a real pleasure.
Indeed. Just to say, great work. This has been an amazing weekend.
Thank you very much. I'm going red now. I'm going to stop. So tell now, for those who don't know, again, you're the kind of one of the driving forces behind, amongst many other things. I think I'm right in saying Clockwork Watch.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Clockwork Watch.
Well, Clockwork Watch is a story that is told across multiple platforms, and it is co-created by members of the public. The basic premise is a young boy and his family arrive over from India at the request of Queen Victoria. The father of the boy is a kinetic engineer, and he creates this amazing technology that powers a generation of clockwork servants, clockwork automatons. And in true industrial world fashion, every home has one. Things go really, really well until one gains his sentience and he realizes that he's a slave working in this amazing environment, in amazing world, and he decides to position himself as the Moses character to lead them to the promised land. But the key thing here is, while we have the standalone stories, each one is backed up by an immersive event where the public can actually connect with part of the narrative and the characters, learn more about the background to the story and their lives. And we've given people a portal online, almost like a newspaper, where they can share their experiences and more or less act almost as correspondents within this world and segue the bits of the story that the public don't know. So more or less turning them into unique storytellers. We've been doing this for 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been going quite a while.
Publishing our 10th book. We've worked with the Royal Observatory, hosting, as in, these are people who've come to us and asked whether we can either align our story or align their story with what we're doing. So we've done the Royal Observatory, National Maritime Museum, Scottsdale, Arizona Public Library. We did, we worked with, claim to fame, which excites me more than anything else. We took over the whole of Kendall town for about 18 hours and worked with Kendall College to create this massive immersive experience.
Wow.
We've hosted an amazing day at the asylum.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
We launched a beer. Now, what was
hang on, I'm all for that. Definitely.
You remember that? Well, someone came up to me at a party and just said, "Do you know anything about steampunk?" I said, "Yeah." Said, "I need someone to illustrate my new beer labels." I said, "Okay." So over time, spoke to this guy and he said, "You know what? I own the trade name and the original recipe for the beer that went out via the East India Company."
Yeah.
And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, he owns the name Hodgson's."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, within our story, that we're looking for this catalyst that is going to lead to our automatons maintaining their sentience." After talking with him, he decided that he was going to make the first batch of the beer that's had ever been tasted since Queen Victoria was alive. And I am really honored to say we had that beer in a speakeasy at the asylum.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Now, so along with the comics, which we'll get back to in a minute, you're involved a bit in the Burning Man, I understand.
Yes, I am.
So tell us what the Burning Man is. An event that I've never been to. A couple of friends of mine have been, and I know many people who have. And it always sounds to me like one of those life-changing, huge events. So tell me what it's kind of like from your perspective.
Well, I've thought about this after working within the organization for about 21 years. I thought about this, and the best I can come up with is if you took every cultural, be it music, art, theatre, book, performance art, and every cultural experience that you've had in your life, and you distilled all of that into 1 second, then imagine if every second were different. And that is what Burning Man is. Because for the first 4 days I went out, I kept on saying, wow, I see something else, wow. On the 5th day, I said, you know what? Enough already. I'm just going to record this in my memory. And when I'm lying at home back in London, I will carry on with my wows because it blew me every second.
Cool. So, Colin, you mentioned comics and IPC. Are you a comics fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was your first comic then, and what comics do you like?
Well, I didn't hit the Marvel DC comics religion until late. I worked at IPC on humour publications like Shiver and Shake and Whizzer and Chips.
Whizzer and Chips, yeah.
Crazy Comic and that kind of malarkey. But next door, in the next office, was 2000 AD.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now you've got me.
Okay, well, my claim to comic fame, Steve McManus, one of the legendary editors of 2000 AD, started at IPC magazines on precisely the same day that I did. Yeah, wow. we were the two trainee journalists standing in the office of the managing editor. Oh my God!
Can you tell I'm a fan at all? Oh, can you tell I'm a fan at all?
That is Judge Dredd better than any of the two movies. But what was weird and what was great was being so close to something that was that iconic because it was so radical and so the buzz coming from that. What now? God Almighty, he's doing comedy.
You see what he's doing? He's getting his props out.
Sorry. The things that a wonderful prop maker made for me, sadly no longer with this lovely chap, and he made a amazing replica. Because I'm a huge Judge Dredd fan, huge 2000 AD fan. Yeah. I think my first comics were probably TV 21 was the first one that really got me going. That shows my age, and then lifelong 2000 AD Judge Dredd fan. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
No, 2000 AD. You knew you were in the presence of something great that was happening next door.
I like the fact that it was kind of an anthology, so you always got something different. There was always different things going on, and whilst and I love the fact that it wasn't always, not every single story was fantastic and brilliant, but it sparked fantastic and brilliant stories simply because it was an anthology, and there was something for everyone in there. So Yoms, what
Thog's Future Shocks?
Yes,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Those short stories were brilliant.
Yeah. So Yoms, you're clearly a big comic book fan since you're involved with them. What were your first experiences of comics?
Oh, I think I was into Beano, and a lot of the little, the old little World War sort of pocket book ones. Can't remember their names. Is it Thunder or something close
Battle
to that?
Picture Library.
Yep, I loved a lot of those. I only really started getting my head around proper sort of stuff, I would say, with 2000 AD, which I love things like Nemesis and some of the other Strontian Dog and stuff like that. But then I wasn't too aware of the world in itself at that point. It's only when I started reading Crisis that I actually began to understand that there's conflict in the world and not everything is as nice and as outlandish as 2000 AD was. Because it dealt with war and stuff, but they were always futuristic, post-apocalyptic sort of things. But then Crisis brought home things like Nicaragua and stuff like that, and Honduras to the table.
Yeah, Crisis
and
was awesome.
On the Marvel side, I loved Daredevil.
Right.
I thought that was brilliant, and some of the nice little offshoots
Uh-huh.
were also really, really cool. But I would say my grounding for this sort of thing comes from going on a Saturday morning to the cinema in Littlehampton to watch Flash Gordon.
Oh,
And you'd have this episodic sort of thing that my
Yeah.
gran used to take me to watch. And that was, I mean, I did the Batman thing a lot where, oh God, to tell you a little story, really strange. But we did the Batman thing a lot. And then we also did a ghost sort of thing with me and my friends. And while playing, someone walked on the top landing of the stairs, started flashing the lights on and off, and had a white blanket over his head. So I freaked, ran out of the front door, out of the front gate, got hit by a car, a police car. Now, I was the only black kid in Littlehampton. Anyway, they rushed me to hospital, all's really, really good. Turns out our little back street was a run-through that skipped traffic lights. 5-6 months later, still, had I learned my lesson? Don't play ghosts. No, I was playing ghosts. Ran out of the road again. The same officer hit me.
He really had it in for you, didn't he?
So he's at the hospital thinking, I'm gonna get sacked. I'm gonna hit in town.
Oh, I love that story. I love
anyway, that was the end of my ghosts. But I did learn a lot about roleplay at that point.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and playing Batman and Robin on the stairs an awful lot, because you know in Batman and Robin they always used to climb up, the old series, they always used to climb up the side of the building, so we always used to pretend to climb up the stairs, and it was just very, very silly. And then somebody was always out to get us. I don't know how that worked, but somebody was always out to get us. Anyway,
no broken bones though.
No, and so just I think I'm going to have one last question. I'm just looking to see if there's any questions from fans. But one last question, because I'm going to move on. As much as I love talking to you, and Yoms, we must catch up sometime. Definitely.
Yeah,
it's been way too long. So what sort of creative stuff is inspiring you at the moment? Colin, what's inspiring you at the moment creatively?
Well, during lockdown, we've every night for the last 15 nights, we've sat through the entire canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We finished Endgame yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fantastic sensory overload. And I love creativity, Keith. You know that. That's why I love steampunk so much. I just love the makers. I love Ian. I love Herr Doctor. And John Naylor just put out this morning a beautiful podcast spraying up his steampunk mask. I thought that was just a fantastic piece of television, quite honestly. Yeah. And Chris Osborne, who's a brilliant maker. And
Chris Osborne makes the steampunk R2D2, which is going like that. It's not that size; it's huge. It's real size R2D2. It's brilliant. But
these people really, Keith, are my heroes, because they can do stuff that I can't do. I make stuff, and they will look at it, and they're very polite, and they say that's marvelous, and they're thinking, doesn't he possess a ruler?
I know. I always say I can't. The only thing I can make is a mess. That's all I can do. So I can't make physical things. That's for sure. I just hopeless. Yoms, what's exciting you at the moment creatively?
This is going to sound a little narcissistic to a certain degree, but I've been working through some of the old stuff that I did with the team at the asylum, and I have been incorporating the bits that relate to Clockwork into the next two books. And what's been amazing is the freedom that people have given, and the license that they've given me to observe and to work with them. But the other cool thing about it in itself is I am reminding myself of how talented these people are by seeing the majority of them online. doing little skits. For instance, this weekend,
Yeah.
quite a few of them have appeared. And the lockdown has been a little bit weird because I spent, over the past month and a half, I think I spent 3 weeks getting over COVID.
Yeah.
So, the remainder has been just seeing that a lot of these people are still very, very active. They're doing really well, and they're entertaining me in their own unique way. And that in itself is inspiring me to put the finishing touches to the next 2 books.
Yeah.
And you've hosted most of them.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan. I have most of them. I think I've got to check, but I think I've got most of them. So I suppose that finally, just before you go, firstly, Colin, tell us your books. Where can people get them? Where can people track you down?
Usual Amazon outlets, but it's quicker and easier and a bit cheaper to go to www.caffeinenightsbooks.com. That's the best way to do them. Lovely publisher called Darren, who took a gamble on my stuff.
Caffeine Nights is your publisher. So caffeinenights.com, and that's caffeine as in coffee, caffeine. Yes.
All of that.
Brilliant. And there's 3 books out at the moment, is that right?
Got 3. There's a box set coming out, an audio, downloadable box set coming out pretty soon. I'm working on number 4 now, and I've got a freebie going out on Monday.
Yes, that's right. In fact, I mentioned that earlier, and I was going to say one of the things we're doing at SteamPaper, because obviously there's very few events, real life events and gigs. Well, no real life events and gigs in SteamPaper. We've been turning it over to sort of musicians and traders and saying, these people are out there. But we're also now, because there's been just such a huge outbreak of, outbreak, that's the wrong word, a huge kind of flowering of amazing events and online stuff and so on. I've been talking about those. So I've been asking people to send in any information about online events and streaming and people who are streaming and doing stuff, and I'm going to put that into SteamPaper. So Yoms, where can we find out about Clockwork Watch and your stuff?
Clockworkwatch.org currently has the first 3 books within the story world available for free download.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Yoms.
We decided after the 10th year we were going to offer people an insight. It's self-published, and if you can't do something like this yourself, then what's the point of being in the game?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
The first 3 that we did, which are Arrival, TikTok 1, and Evolution, are available free for download.
Cool. Awesome.
And that's clockworkwatch.org. And if you go to clockworkwatch.com, you'll be able to see 9 years worth of co-created content by people who have come to our events or read the books or various other interactions, all free.
What couldn't all these things epitomise steampunk, really, absolutely epitomise steampunk. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, and I wish I could talk for longer, but we have limited time available. But I will definitely catch up with both of you at some point. Be lovely to do a longer interview. Actually, I've been doing interviews with people via Skype for SteamPaper in the past couple of weeks. After this weekend, you might not be surprised to hear that I'm going to take a break for a while. But then I've got to put SteamPaper together for starters. But anyway, the real email newsletter. But anyway, we'll have to do some interviews coming up after that. So. Anyway, so thank you very much for your time, and catch up with you again soon.
Thank you,
now.
Keith.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello there. Right, now I'm going to put you on the screen here. There we go.
Here we are.
Wow, I'm quite pleased. I was how, I don't know whether you know, but when you organise these things and you're reliant on technology, and then technology starts not working, and you go, is it going to work? Is it going to work? So yeah. Brilliant. Lovely to see you again.
And you. I'm just trying to adjust myself here so you can all be seen and what have you.
So we did have a lovely interview the other week. So I'm gonna try very hard not to cover the same sort of ground. But the idea is really this is more of a kind of casual chat, and I'm hoping that people will perhaps ask some questions or comment or say something. So we can kind of make it more of a community thing. Make it more a community thing.
Indeed.
So I'm just having a look, and I'm checking the comments now. But anyway, so it's lovely to see you. And I was going to start off by saying, now you're involved in the Chap Hop magazine. Is that right?
or the Chap magazine occasionally.
Chat magazine, of course it is.
Yes,
Chap,
the Chap Pop magazine. Well, that's an idea for another time. Perhaps, who knows? Yeah, I mean, there's always. I'm thinking of doing an annual. Actually, that might be quite good. A Chap Pop annual.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yes, the Chap magazine. I do occasionally write for them every now and again, and well, generally go boozing with its editor a lot of the time, which is the most important thing, of course.
Well, that's how these things work, isn't it? Really,
this is very true.
It's surprising how much of the world revolves around things like that. So,
yes, absolutely.
So tell me how did that start then?
Well, you know what? When I first started, when Mr.B first turned up, one of my objectives was a friend of mine who, oddly enough, lived in Paris. Told me about the Chat magazine at the turn of the century, and just said, "Have you heard of this thing?" And he at the time was doing a sort of Victorian hip hop thing, and I just thought, well, that sounds good. That sounds like my thing. So yes, I found it, and then one of my original objectives for Mr.B was really I just wanted to get in the Chat magazine. If I could get some recognition from the Chat magazine, then I was happy enough. And so yes, ended up sending him a few bits and bobs, and then went and met Gustav, the editor, down the pub, and we've sort of become chums. And I occasionally write for them. I do my Mr.B's Chat Pop diaries every now and again, or I've written about various things, like about how hip hop was invented by Dame Edith Sitwell. Or
hang on. Just tell us about that.
This is a few years ago. There was a thing called Fanfare, which Dame Edith Sitwell did, which was effectively, I think it was seen as a joke at the time, and this was in the 20s. Was seen as a bit of a joke, but it was, orchestral music effectively, but they had this, chap rapping over the top of it. Can't remember what his name was for the life of me. We had a couple of different people doing it.
Yeah.
But it was that sort of thing, that sort of spoken word over, but very rhythmically over the top of music. Wow. And actually on my first Acid Ragtime album, there is a track called Babylon, which features one of these very raps from the 1920s, which is just absolutely stunning. It's brilliant. Sort of 16 beats in the bar, oppa-doppa rap, as we call it.
I'm going to have to stop talking to you, because every time I talk to you, you talk about something, I think I must chase that down, and I make a note, and it's like, I'm getting a to-do list that's as long as my arm now, with all these people that I need to check out,
That's all we like to hear.
So Dame Edith it was, wasn't it?
Dame Edith Sitwell.
Yes, I know the name. I don't know much about her.
Yes, Fanfare is what you want to look for. I'll send you something over. I'll send something to you.
That just sounds too weird. I mean, I love weird and quirky things. So
it is quite weird and quirky. Yes.
With steampunks, everybody in steampunks like weird and wonderful things.
Absolutely, that's what we live for.
We are getting a few questions in, which is quite cool.
Lovely.
Scott Donaldson is saying, what moustache wax does Mr.B use?
Well, I would like to say that I use either Mr.B's wax,
yes,
or Victor's Vapor, Mr.B's moustache wax for ravers, which is my Vic's Vapor Rub flavoured moustache wax. But to be honest with you, it's I don't wax, generally speaking. It's just
au naturel.
I wake up and there it is, which is probably why half of this is it's not exactly perfect at the moment, but there you go.
Yeah, we've had this. Oh, you've frozen there a bit. Hello. Oh, I've lost the connection. I think we're gonna have to ring him back. But, all right, my end.
I found that when I did my little birthday party last week, and it kicked me off every 40 minutes.
Oh dear.
Well, actually, you've had just that.
If it was that Zoom.
No, that was Facebook actually.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back on now. Sorry. It's...
Back on.
Yes, that's Lady M checking up on me. She's very good like that.
Excellent.
She's always very good.
Jolly good.
I think we might have to wait for people to join us at the moment. I don't think it'll be...
Oh, of course. Yes, you have to do that, don't you?
People are drifting back in now. That's fine.
Okay, good.
Yes, can I just apologise for some reason I actually lost my internet connection, which never happens. I mean, it's just honestly, it just never happens. I've never lost my internet connection, so it's a bit weird. But hey, these things happen.
I think perhaps my moustache broke the internet.
Yes,
it's a dangerous thing.
I was going to start talking about my moustache. I know I had this conversation with you before, but mine just won't do anything. It just won't. It just sits there. And it's terrible. Yeah. So.
Well, I said this is the one piece of my genetic makeup that seems to work.
Yes. Now the annoying thing is that, of course, having lost my internet connection, I lost all the questions that were coming up in the feed, and there was a couple of quite good ones that that I wanted to ask. So I'll have to ask if anybody was asking a question, and it would I missed it. So please post it up again if there is a question. I'm desperately trying to think of what they were, but oh, I know what one of them was. Yes, it was basically you had a birthday the other day.
I did.
And
yes.
somebody was asking what you did for your birthday, and I happen to know what you did for your birthday, but do tell us.
Oh, well, Lady C made me a lovely fry up, which was lovely, of course. What did I do? Well, I ended up having a bit of a Facebook party in the evening. Mm-hmm. It was which was very pleasant. It was I just sort of DJ'd from about 8 o'clock until about 11 or so. When, as Facebook's want, it kicked us off every 40 minutes or so. Yeah. But or I think if I played a Prince song, didn't like me playing Prince songs. He was never that keen on people playing his stuff. But yes, I did that, and it was a lot of fun. In the end, it was lovely. We had a curry. Which is always good. And, yes, had a little Facebook party. So it was really, really rather pleasant. I
did drop in a couple of times, and Lady M did as well. We were doing stuff, busy doing stuff, but we did drop in. It looked rather fab, and I thought, what a wonderful way to do it, is to celebrate. So
it was fun, yes. It was good.
I like your kind of mixes and the things you do. The little DJ things you do are quite fun.
Thank you. Yes,
lots of people wishing you.
I'm sort of from that background a little bit. I've always DJ'd and what have you. So it's part of my hip hop dance music background, really.
I think one can tell.
Perhaps yes. I'll try and hide it, but what do you do?
Right. So we've got hello, Mr. B. Happy late birthday. Care to give a shout out to my dears Tori and Amy? So there we go.
I will certainly do that. Tori and Amy. Big up your good selves.
Here we go. Andrea of the Cogniz is asking, out of the many, what was your favourite gig, or what was your favourite gig?
Oh my word!
I know that's difficult because you don't want to upset anyone, but
no, that is tricky. I do. There was something. A lot of times, the ones that are quite satisfying are the ones when you arrive and you think this is going to be a disaster. I know I did. I was at the Riverside Festival in Nottingham, and it sounded like a very pleasant thing, but it was more just a sort of fun fair and sideshow thing. And I was thinking, this is really not going to work at all.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, there was about 900 people in this little arena type thing, just leaping about. The police were dancing around to the Crack song. That was quite fun, watching some policemen dancing around to that. Things like that are always good. When you see, I always really enjoy surprising people with it, and the fact that people come up to you after and said, well, I saw you coming out, and I thought, oh God, what's this?
Yeah.
And it's nice to see people's faces when they are usually the first couple of things I do, 5 minutes in, they're bemused.
Yeah.
Then you can just see people's faces just sort of locking into it and going, okay, I see what this is now. And then they can sort of relax and enjoy what it is. And they're always the most satisfying ones. And usually by the end, they're all on their feet and leaping about and what have you. Which I know, them, obviously.
I know exactly what you mean. It's that fans will love you anyway, and we love fans. I mean, I don't have many, but it's always nice to have fans, and they're going to love what you do anyway. But it's kind of like the unconverted or the people who've never seen you before. That I did one of my very, very early stand-up gigs, and I haven't done many, and I'm not very professional, but I do occasionally do stand-up. And I did one of my very early gigs was kind of like a long show of bands. And it was kind of like from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till, 10 o'clock at night. And there was so many bands on. And I was the only comedian. I was the only kind of person not doing music. And I did hold the honour of being the only act for which nobody was in the bar. I don't know whether that's because they ran out of beer or what. But anyway. And it was brilliant because one of the band members who'd been, he's one of these guys that have been in a band for years, different bands for years and everything else. He came up to me afterwards and he says, I'm going to use a rude word now. He said, I thought you were going to be shit, but actually you were quite good.
Well, there you go.
And that's kind of like the highest praise I think you can get, really.
Exactly. They're always good. There's always the ones you don't expect. Like when I, without bragging about it again, but when I supported Sparks in London last year.
Yes, yeah.
I was fully expecting to be playing to, 30 people at the front while everyone else was at the back at the bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole place was packed, and I think obviously there must have been a lot of people there who knew who I was because people were singing along. It felt like a headline gig at the at the Forum, which was a couple of thousand people or so. It was most pleasant.
Brilliant. Now, somebody's saying, come to America, Gen Con or another festival. Have you played America at all?
I have, yes.
I thought you. Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah.
But not for a while though. I do need to get that arranged actually because it's been a few years. I've played in Minneapolis and in San Francisco and New York and Pennsylvania, and yes, all over the shop really. But I do need to return once I can. Yeah. Once this can be done, I will be back.
Because I know
it's always fun.
You've been over there with that other fellow, that other chap. The other person.
Actually, I don't think we were actually over there at the same time.
Well, you're not. I thought that was
the other chap. No.
Okay.
Oddly enough, I think the first gig we actually did together was possibly in Paris.
Oh, right.
Which was very bizarre. It was they kind of set up this whole like a kind of boxing ring at the front of the stage, and we had these burlesque girls who were our card girls and stuff. And I'm sure, and it was fantastic. I'm sure nobody had the faintest clue what was going on, but it went very well. The odd thing about that was, of course, we arrived, officially sworn enemies, and the guy who was promoting it said, "Oh, I'll show you the hotel." Yeah. And so we found the hotel, and he said, "So which one of you wants the key?" We're like, "What? Which one of you wants your room key?" We're like, So we ended up having to share a room. And it was really.
Brilliant.
And what if we actually did hate each other? What would happen then?
Yeah. And had you met him before then?
Yes. Yeah. We met a couple of times. We weren't. He's a lovely man. So we're both lovely chaps. So it was fine. Yeah.
He was telling me when we interviewed him. He was saying about a gig he did in Cambodia. It was the most bizarre gig ever. So and I know you've done
there have been many bizarre gigs, that's for sure.
Yeah, you've done. So tell us about some bizarre gigs. I know you've done a lot of European gigs as well, haven't you?
Yes, a fair few in Europe and Japan as well. That was great going out to Japan.
Oh yeah, Japan, yeah.
That was lovely. As far as weird gigs go, there, I mean, there was very few weirder than when I played in a London hotel suite for an Arab sheikh. in the living room with him and his harem of ladies all smoking hookahs and kind of singing along to things even though they had no idea what I was on about. That was really weird.
Yes,
that was most odd. And then just being sent out again and being told you're not allowed to make eye contact with him.
Okay.
And it was all quite peculiar, but there's full PA in there, sound people, lights, everything.
Yeah.
It was really peculiar.
I'm just looking through the comments just to see if there's any questions I want to pull out. Where are we? Andrew again.
It's just insults, isn't it? It's nothing but insults.
Yeah, I'm avoiding all the insults. I'm just having to scroll through endless.
Yeah.
I'm slightly distracted by the fact that Lady M is taking a delivery at the front door at the moment. So vital food, and that sort of thing. Sorry, I pulled that up and then didn't talk about it. I'll do that again. So Andrea is saying her little boy is very impressed with your chap hop and plays the uke very badly to most of your songs.
Excellent. Well, so do I. He's got it right.
I remember. Here's a thing I remember. I was doing. I have another life, and I was a judge on a competition, corporate competition, which was all to do with kind of corporate publications and what the best publication was. And there was a big awards ceremony, and Lady M and I turned up at this awards ceremony, and of course it was all people in. It was a big corporate company, and there were lots of big corporate people there, and we all turned up in suits and everything else. And I was sitting on the judges' table with the lady that organised it, and. We weren't sure. It's very boring because awards shows go on for ages and they talk about stuff, and then all of a sudden you appeared, and it was like, what's going on? And it was the most brilliant night ever. I don't know whether you remember that, but
it was the one. Yes,
it was a publishing awards.
That was
that's
right.
it would have been. I'm just trying to think of the name, but I can't remember now. But anyway, it was very brilliant. It was brilliant, and it turned out that the lady we were sitting next to was a huge fan. And so
okay.
she brought you along. So it was one of those gigs where, yes, at the beginning we were kind of like, yes, Mr. B, and we were singing along, and everybody else was just sitting there going, what's this all about? And again, by about, I think about 3/4 of the way through, you won them over. But
I think so. Yeah, another one of those ones. I mean, award shows and things like that are if you're doing it's tricky.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably the worst gig I ever did. It's often the way that the things that sound, when you first get an email about a show, the better it sounds, generally speaking, I'd say 80-90% of the time, the worse it'll be. The worse it'll be, rather. I mean, because one of the worst gigs I ever played, possibly the worst gig I ever played, was Brit Awards after party. It's at the O2. We've got a big marquee there. So come along and it's going to be brilliant. And it was just appalling. It was. I ended up having... what they got, it's clearly they got people to arrange it that had no idea about, the pacing of a show or anything like that. Basically had a huge marquee and they just stuffed it full of people doing stuff. All at the same time. I was supposed to play my tunes at the same time as a DJ was playing something different.
Yeah.
Next to this cart that had lots of moustaches on it that people were supposed to use as props for funny photos and what have you.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just a bit ridiculous.
but did you get to meet anybody famous? I mean, after Brit Awards after show,
no, not really. No, it was almost like more of a sort of, I don't know, people who work for MasterCard or something like that. It was a kind of sponsors show.
Oh, I know the kind of thing sponsors tend.
I think I met some of Robbie Williams' dancers.
Oh, cool, very cool. Yeah,
Not to be sniffed at, of course, but there you go.
Yeah,
they were very nice.
I once met Eric Clapton's guitar roadie, so that's exciting, isn't it?
I've got nothing on that.
I got a great question here, it's a great question because it's one of those questions that makes you think, and it's basically
I don't like the sound of that.
How is chap hop received around the world? And the reason why I think this is quite a good question is because obviously chap hop relies a lot on an English background and English, being very terribly English and a lot of English references and stuff. So how does it go down in other countries?
I think especially the way I do it is people can take what they want from it. Like when I played in Japan, it was much more, I was playing at places that it was more sort of a ukulele based thing. So I was playing at little, a guy, the chap who was is the head of a thing called what were they called? Ukulele Sundays or something like that, ukulele afternoon, something along those lines. And they used to get together in one of the parks in Tokyo on a Sunday, I think it was, and all play ukuleles. And he ran a little bar, and he originally asked me to play. And then there's another chap in Osaka who was a ukulele fan. Yeah. And so we're kind of ukulele gigs. So they both enjoyed how I looked, because not many people in Japan do look like this, although there are a lot of very dapper people in Japan. And yeah, so it was more of they took the ukulele end of it from that.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of amazing ukulele players supporting me, which is quite an honour. A guy called Baron, and another guy called Daisy. And they're Daisy Double-Kuru. I think if I've got that right, he's absolutely magnificent. They're both fantastic. There's a little video on YouTube of me playing the model in this little bar in Tokyo.
Yes, is that where that was filmed?
Yes, it was such good fun.
Yeah, cool.
So I think they can take people can take what they want from it. If I'm playing somewhere where they're clearly not going to understand what I'm on about, I will just up the tempo a bit and turn it up.
Yeah.
And just get people to dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hopefully, and there's a few cover versions in there that I do and what have you, and interpretations, so people can.
So do people in Europe, do they know people like George Formby? Is he kind of, did he reach Europe? I can't remember.
I think he did, yes. Yeah. I think he did. It's more of a question of time now, really, because there's very few people you find, now who know who George Formby was, really.
So if somebody, that's interesting. If somebody was kind of, playing ukulele now, who would their kind of influences be then? Who would inspire them? Do you think? I mean, obviously, aside from yourself, obviously.
Aside from myself,
yes.
Well, there's so many ukulele players now. I guess the kind of superstar of the ukulele is a guy called Jake Shimabukuro, who is just a real maestro, just an absolute. It's almost like he's a classical guitarist, but plays the ukulele.
Yeah,
he's absolutely amazing. They're very, there's lots and lots of people. I think it's almost with the ukulele, it's more of a group activity thing.
Yeah,
it's more something that lots of people do together because it's easy to, it's not a difficult instrument to learn. There's 4 strings. It's just really it's dead simple, really.
See, I've been attempting to learn this instrument.
Oh yes.
Because obviously, you know, I have a comedy act. He's vaguely Russian, and it would be hilarious if I played the balalaika. So I thought I'd learn it. But do you know what the weirdest thing? Do you know much about balalaikas? The weirdest thing about a balalaika, it has 3 strings, and 2 of them are tuned exactly the same.
Right,
and you think if you had an instrument which just had 3 strings,
yes,
you think you'd make the best of that. You know,
I was in. We went to Istanbul because my wife used to work for a Turkish company, and we went to Istanbul, and I ended up buying a jura.
Oh yes,
a Turkish jura, which is lovely, and that's at the same time that's a similar thing. I think it's just 3 strings, and they're not tuned hugely differently.
Yeah.
But it's for one of those. It's the type of music that it's not like it's got lots of chord changes. You stay on the one chord, but it's about, you know, the frills and the
variations.
The thing about the variations upon that one chord.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed playing that.
I often go again. You know, sometimes when I'm lucky enough to visit foreign countries and so on, I often have perhaps one too many beers and then end up buying some kind of weird musical instrument that I never learned to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it. For my birthday, I did get my 4th trombone.
All right.
And we did talk about trombone the other day. Yes, so I will attempt to try and play that one. I think this is it. I always think I tried to play a trombone. Well, not really tried very hard, but just thought about trying to play the trombone for so many years. Perhaps I'm just thinking, perhaps I can learn on this one. This will be the one that I'll learn on. Yeah, we'll see.
So is it a different kind of trombone then? Because I always think there's one trombone, but is there different ones? Like you get tenor saxes and alto saxes and...
Yes, well, I've got... I think this one I've got is it's actually a thing called a P-bone, which is actually a plastic trombone.
Oh, right.
Which I have got a larger version of, but it's a compact one. Because I'm just slightly obsessed with very small novelty instruments. Thus, you know, being a fan of the ukulele.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of small scale one. But I've got a large bore one, which has got all the lots of tubing, you know, elaborate tubing around it, which is the first one I got. And I've also got a soprano trombone, which is brilliant. But what I'd actually probably one day like to get is, they're very hard to come by, it seems, but the Piccolo trombone.
Right.
It's like that big. And it's, you know, a very high, you know, up in the octaves. But trying to find one of those is tricky. So if there's anyone out there who knows where one might be able to source a Piccolo trombone, I can really annoy my wife even further by getting another one of them that I could not play very well.
I have to say that my memory is always so bad. So I was going to say I'm a big fan of this American. Is it Jimmy Fallon who does things with different bands and they all play on kids' instruments? Oh yes, little kid toy instruments. I'm a huge fan of those videos. Some of them are just genius,
they're really good,
absolute genius. And I love the way the superstar, whoever it is that week, joins in. It's brilliant.
Yes.
And talking about group activities, I mean, because quite a lot of people go to ukulele groups. We had a lovely group called Ooh La Lele, sorry, on earlier,
right.
And they're lovely. They're a group that play ukuleles together, and they perform a lot of things like War of the Worlds and all sorts of things like that. So they were rather fun, very good. And on that note of ukuleles, a lady called Lisa is asking, would you give any ukulele playing tips for beginners?
What now? Well, find out for the beginners. I'd say find out the chords that you only need one finger with.
Yeah. And
then you can play something from that. Just find your chord shapes, look at them. Then the best thing to do is find any song. Usually you'll be able to work out if it is musically simple. But find songs that you like, that you want to play, and that's what how I started with the ukulele was that I wanted to learn to play all the songs that I loved, and usually songs that you wouldn't normally hear on the ukulele, which is one of the things. One of my bits of shtick really is that I do. If I'm playing things on the ukulele, it will tend to be, if I'm doing cover versions, it'll generally be things that aren't, it's not Smoke on the Water, or it's not a Neil Young song. It's SL2 and The Prodigy.
Yeah. And
also those old rave tracks, because they're usually written on synths or with samples and what have you. They're not written like a normal rock songs. So they're kind of more interesting to work out how to play them. But just play things that you want to play. That's the way to learn things, really.
I think
because you have to want to do it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that certainly for me, I have to have a quick win. You know, if I pick something up and I can't get something out of it in a very quick space of time, it gets thrown away again, and that's it. So I like things.
That's exactly my situation with the trombone. I can find the notes, but the thing with the trombone is the embouchure. If you play a piano, you press a key and you know that that's going to make the sound that key makes.
Yeah.
You blow into a trombone, anything could come out. It could be any note, really, unless you're doing it properly. And that's the whole thing. It's the embouchure. Suddenly there's a physical element to it that you have to learn to get your mouth to go. So clearly I'm not very good at that. But I will get there one day.
Not your first instrument.
No, perhaps not.
Now we've got a couple of questions from people, at least one of whom is in America. So we've got Gene, who's asking, have you ever wanted to work with people like Weird Al or other parody singers outside the chap hop realm? Somebody based in Indianapolis there. Thank you very much for watching us all the way from Indianapolis.
Well, yeah, Weird Al is obviously he's
I'm a huge fan.
And he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, the thing is, like with Weird Al, as far as parodies go, I'd almost prefer his original material. I think my favourite Weird Al track is was it "Don't Download This Song."
Yes, I know.
Which is just a brilliant sort of "We Are the World" type ballad about piracy and about how if you download this illegally, how's this rapper going to be able to keep his gold-plated Humvee and what have you.
Now I've got
yes, Weird Al is marvelous, and I love the fact now, especially now that Weird Al is a kind of granddaddy of this sort of thing almost. He's an international treasure, and everybody just loves Weird Al. Whereas before it was like, who's this stupid idiot doing versions of Michael Jackson songs all the time? Now it's the fact he's just stuck with it. He's gone, you know what?
I've just remembered.
I like doing this. Oh, hello, what have we got?
Just to show you. This is when you get weird and nerdy, you start doing things like this. I know you can see that very well, but
oh, fantastic!
That is the man himself. That goes alongside my Bob Ross and Elvira pop funkos. So
it really does. I'm like Neil from the Young Ones.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation the other day about how hello. This time round I didn't lose all the comments. I think. Are we all there? Can somebody wave to us? Oh yeah, no. Can somebody wave to us and say something? Well, I know we're definitely live. I'm looking at the comment stream. I know people. I think people are watching us.
Okay.
Well, we'll carry on.
Let's carry on.
Oh, there we go. Yes, people have watched this. So, here we go. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. My internet connection, after being great all weekend and not giving me any trouble, has now seems to be playing up tonight.
My fault.
Yeah, so we were talking about Weird Al. I was talking about my Pop Funko mini obsession. And I had an important message from Lady M, which was basically as the delivery has arrived and mini magnums are in the freezer. So that's all good.
Ooh.
Nice to know. So what else? Somebody else was asking, who probably isn't familiar with your oeuvre, if I can use that word. What is the connection with rave, house, whatever music, by the way?
Well, I like it. That's the connection. Well, I sort of still. I do make. I think is this another one of my. Thing is, what tends to happen is if I spend a long time doing a Mr.B album, I will swiftly, as soon as it's done, move sideways and do something else. So I do also do stuff under the name of Jason Rollbars, which is more of a sort of straightforward house music, techno sort of thing. So I do make that sort of music as well. Yeah. I like to skip about. I suppose something about being a child of the 80s and the early 90s is that, I'm quite anti-purist.
Yeah.
I think, it's quite important to mash up as many things as you can, really, I think.
Yeah, and you do that quite a lot. I mean, with your
I suppose I do, yes.
History of chap hop and everything else. And of course you started as a rapper in a band as well, so
Yes, absolutely.
Now I've got everyone and his son waving at us, so good. I'm glad we're back online again.
Okay, lots of waves. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know why we went offline, but anyway. So I'm just looking through because I did see. Are you? Oh, that's interesting. Are you ever going to do a new collaboration with Professor and Thomas? I'm presuming that's Thomas B. Wild Esquire. it was lovely to see you on stage together at the Space Centre.
That was a lot of fun. Yes.
Yeah, and you did sing a song together.
We did.
Sang together. Have you ever considered, doing something, more of a collaboration with the Professor or indeed Tom Wilde?
We've talked about it quite a lot, actually. We have
Okay.
talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not happened. I think it's just me being a bit belligerent and just being, I get sidetracked by just doing my own thing. So yeah, we should do. I'm sure at some point. What will probably happen is we'll eventually do something together at the very point when nobody cares anymore and nobody's interested. So yeah, as an act of desperation, we will do something together, hoping to regain some kind of relevance. Yeah, see what happens after we've all said something terrible on Twitter that's got us cancelled by everybody. Yeah, who knows?
It's
That
sort
sort of thing could happen.
it's sort of like when a band, gets together after all those years, they get back together again. So that's something
Yes.
for your pension fund. When you get to the 70s and 80s, you and the Prof could do an album together and it could sell millions.
Exactly. Well, this is one of the things I do like about what I do, is that I do feel that rather than it being, trying to be a rock star or what have you, I tend to feel that, especially doing hip hop, this will be more amusing the older I get.
Yes, yeah.
Or it'll be more amusing to people watching it because it'll be, who's this old fart, rap, what have you.
That's the lovely thing about steampunk. I mean, it's all ages, any age, and I mean, who'd have thought at my age I'd be sitting here doing sort of VJing. Somebody called me a VJ earlier. I don't know what.
Oh, there you go.
I hope that's a compliment. But anyway,
well, I'm sure a lot of 29-year-olds are doing VJing.
Yeah, but I mean, but yeah, no.
Remember,
I love it.
our DJ age is always 29. It
Yeah,
goes
okay.
to 29, then it stops forever.
Right, thanks. Good. I'll bear that in mind. Somebody's saying they'd love to see a Pop Funko Mr.B and a Pop Funko Professor Elemental. Oh God, I would so love to see that actually.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, no, I'd like
We
that.
shall see.
Yeah. Somebody else has mentioned, this is quite interesting because I have seen this gentleman live doing comedy. Has anybody ever mentioned you sound like Marcus Brigstock? Is there any connection?
That's never been said before. People said Stewie Griffin quite a lot. That's usually American people who said Stewie Griffin.
Oh yes, yes.
Marcus as far as I know, there is no heritage there between myself and Mr. Brigstock. But I'm sure he's a lovely man. Who knows?
I think Thomas Talafiero is suggesting that if you did tour with the other two, it could be called the Tour of the Silly Buggers, which I think is
quite right. Yes. Well, I've got a track on Dan Dinister called Silly Buggers. So yes,
No.
why not?
Colin Mattison is asking, I think this is a trick, which of your musical personas is the smartest dresser? Or who thinks they're the smartest dresser?
Oh, well, I mean, it's always Mr. B, really.
Yeah.
Mr. B, that's why I'm here. It's, and that's why I dress like this. I mean, it was almost when I started doing Mr. B, it was almost, I wanted to dress smarter anyway.
Mm.
It was the early 2000s, well, mid 2000s, I suppose. And I wanted to dress better.
Mm.
And rather than just like a normal person who just thought, okay, well, buy a suit and put a suit on, I had to create an entire world around Rich. Around Rich, I had an excuse to dress better. And I remember the first time I did try, it was originally from a thing, some friends of mine of the other members of Club Mercredi, which features in my novel, Roast Beef.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but the other members of Club Mercredi, which is real, I tried to implement Suit Wednesday? We used to see Wednesday being Mercredi, Suit Wednesday, or Suit Autumn, that was it. So when it came around to autumn, I decided that we all had to wear suits. None of the others did, but I started wearing suits. And I remember the first time we did this girl came up to you and said, "You look very political." And I thought, right, okay. And then I think she tried to backtrack and say, "Oh, I didn't mean that. I meant smart or something." But you look very political.
Well, I think that's true.
And in a way, it is political. It's a political statement.
Yeah, no, this is a story from my past. I actually I think the last time I ever wore a suit, shirt, and tie, and but not an exciting one, a very boring one, was probably when I was was a councillor many years ago. I was actually a councillor on a council, and that was probably the only ever time I've worn the full shirt, suit and tie. I don't.
Well, I'm
like
sure you had a
ties.
rather nice suit when you did when we did the Chap Up and Cheese night.
The Cheesemeister.
To Cheesemeister, that was a heck of a suit.
A fetching yellow number with a red hat. Yeah, I seem to remember. Yeah.
But I think that was part of it. Was the fact, especially the late 90s to the mid 2000s, it was a very t-shirt and jeans age, and I thought it was it was the most punk thing to do would be to wear a lovely suit.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
obviously saying wearing a suit, it's not just pop down buttons and stick on something shiny and tight.
Yeah,
it's you've got to do it right.
No, I used to work a lot with designers and design companies, and I often used to go in a suit because it would freak them out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Smart suit and a shirt. But then it kind of I don't know. It got to the stage where they started wearing suits and flowery shirts done up at the neck. It was that kind of.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And it was like, no, this isn't working. I've got to find something
It's no
else.
fun anymore.
Got to find something else to outrage them with. Now, somebody's asking a story question here. So now you've written a book. I know this. Remind me of the title again.
It's called Roast Beef.
Roast Beef, which is what the French call the English, isn't it? I believe. Is that where it comes from?
Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah, a roast beef.
So Thomas is asking, are there any books you like reading on rainy days? What sorts of books? Are you a big reader?
Well, I am. Yes. Well, I've just actually finished. I just went and sat in our little communal gardens in our flats, and just finished off reading The Loved One by Evelyn Waugh.
Right.
Which is quite dark, but kind of darkly amusing. I mean, to be honest with you, I rarely go anywhere without having some PG Woodhouse with me. I don't think there's any. The English language is, never sings like it does from the pen of PG Woodhouse.
Yeah,
it's just magical, and I think actually Gustav Temple from the Chap has just written something today for the Idler magazine about how PG Woodhouse will save us and will get us through this, because as soon as you start reading any sentence from that, you're immediately transported to this odd little world of him and his funny butler and cricket and engagements being on and off, and him trying to hide from some girl and all that sort of thing, or maiden aunts.
I used to love the G's and Worcester with I think we might have an issue again
soon.
Yeah, we'll see if we can. I think I've resumed where I left off. Yes, I think once again, sorry, we lost the connection there. So are we back on? People? Just let me know, wave or make a comment. Let us know where we're back on. So we were talking. I mean, I used to love. And we're back in the room. Oh, thank you, Andrea. Chiefs and Worcester. I love the old TV series with
Fry and Laurie.
Fry and Laurie. God, my brain's going. I think it's probably it's the end. It's the end of a long weekend and a long week, and I think the beer's getting to me now. Yes. So what's in there then? Is that tea or is that?
That's beer.
Beer. Good man.
This is a lovely this tankard thing out here is from a company called Art House Unlimited.
Yeah.
And they're based in Surrey, and it's basically it's people with learning disabilities who go into this place in Godalming, and they make art, and then they create things for them that they can sell. This is by a chap called Peter Andrews. I don't know if you can see on there.
There's something of the klimt about that, isn't there?
Exactly, yeah. It's erotic art, and they actually inside it said this is actually called Lovely Jubbly.
Okay, awesome.
And there's lots of naked ladies.
Yeah.
But it's it's a really rather beautiful thing.
Yeah. I'm very jealous. My daughter is at university in Brighton. And I'm very, very jealous because Brighton is such a creative place and full of creative people, and also so many lovely shops. I mean, whenever I go down there, I always browse through the lanes and the comic books and the gaming books and the art shops. It's fantastic.
It is a unique little place to live. I do find that when I'm travelling around, you meet people from all over the country, but I often find that if I meet people from Brighton, everyone's immediately like, "Oh, Brighton! Oh, yeah!" You get very enthused about the whole place. There's something in the air.
Yeah, there's so many creative people as well that are kind of based down there or around there. Anyway, so I think because partly because we've been chatting for a while, and partly because I don't want to risk breaking the internet for a third time. All I've been doing, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, all I've been doing when that happens is switching it off and on again. So there's, that's the limit of my technical expertise at this end.
That's all you need.
So if there's any questions you've got for Mr. B, then get them in now, because I'm going to wrap up in a minute. So I was going to, since you mentioned beer and I mentioned beer, what's your favourite tipple beer wise? Or do you have one?
I tend to be quite boring as far as beer goes. Also, the fact that being a vegan.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
I do find obviously a lot of the ales there aren't very many vegan ales.
See, that's something I've not thought about.
Yeah, because obviously they often use the fish guts for the brewing and what have you. So oddly enough, I do tend to, if I'm just down the pub, remember those pubs?
Yes, I remember.
Hey
those.
kids,
yes,
remember pub? Well, anyway. I'll tend to go for the. I tend to be quite boring. Just go for a sort of some kind of corporate lager, because they're usually vegan. Oddly enough. Things like Kronenberg. This is actually, I've just got a can of Kronenberg in there.
Yeah.
A can of numbers, they call it.
Yeah, I'm a big craft beer fan myself. So, not being vegan, it means I've got quite a wide choice.
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's interesting. There you go. If you're ever in Stroud, and I can recommend Stroud, it's a lovely place. And the SteamPunk Festival last year was brilliant. Then apparently Nimue says Stroud Brewery does vegan beer. There's quite a lot of good beers in, and there's a fantastic ale house there as well. So,
well, I think obviously there's there's vegan everything now. So there's a lot of great vegan ales, and I've not really explored them properly.
Yeah. Well, I think I've taken up a lot of your time. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on this little chat show. And
Thanks
on a
for having
Sunday
me
night.
again, and it's been a splendid weekend. I've really enjoyed it all. It's been marvellous.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I mean I have been blown away by the response of not just the community, but the performers and everybody who's fully kind of supported the whole festival. And we've had loads of content. I mean, my biggest problem was actually really at the end of the day was kind of juggling everything, trying to fit everything in.
Finding the time to fit it all in.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And the response I've had has been generally really positive. Well, always really positive. So
good work, I say.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic thing, and
raise this tankard to you.
Yeah, and again, reminding everybody out there that part of the reason for doing the festival was so that you are reminded of all these wonderful entertainers and traders and writers and artists and so on are still out there. They still need to earn a living, so do buy their albums and visit their websites and buy their merchandise. And Mr.B's in particular, because they're really wonderful, they're really lovely. I can say that because I'm
I
have to really know. No, I'm a huge fan of all. I'm a huge fan of all these people. I just love the community. I love the people, and I love the performers. And it's been wonderful talking to you. And I realise I've had too much beer now. So before I waffle on for too long, thank you very much, Mr. B. Always a pleasure. And
absolutely.
We'll have to catch up again soon at some point, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let me know. I'm around.
Cool. All
I
right.
don't know where to go.
Thank you again. Cheers, Mr. B. Thank you.
Cheerio.
So there we go. A lovely chat with Mr. B. I'm going to take a short break, and I'm going to take my spanner to the internet, and we'll be back with some bedtime stories and some music. So do come back and join us for the last session in this weekend of SteamPunk over Ether. Thank you, and remember, stay safe, stay splendid. Thank you.